Hi everyone, it's Casey. I hope you're doing well today. Today I wanted to make sort of an updated video of a video that I did about a year ago. I did a video about the process that I use to paint a custom Blythe doll. But since that time, I pretty much have completely changed the way that I do my process. So in that other video, I talked about using watercolor pencils mostly. And at this point, I really don't use watercolor pencils anymore. I now exclusively use Rembrandt pastels. So I have quite a collection going. I need to get myself a nice little case for them, but for right now, I just have them in a Tupperware. So basically, I'm going to go through the process of how I color my dolls. So I have a doll here that's ready to be painted. Her style and look is a little bit different than what I've done in the past. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm going for with her in a minute. So the doll, I have finished carving her and sanding her. And then what I do to prepare the doll for painting is I wash it with hot water and dish soap. That gets all of the oils off, all of the dust or anything that is left on the doll from sanding and carving. It should get it all off. And then once you've done that, you want to make sure that it dries really well before you spray anything or do any color. And you also don't want to touch it with your fingers or your skin. If you can see, I'm holding it on the edge. I'm not touching the faceplate part at all because your oils in your skin can transfer onto the faceplate, and you don't want that when you start to spray. So the faceplate has been washed and it's ready for its first coat of Mr. Super Clear, which I'm going to do in a moment. So then the other thing that I use are cosmetic sponges, either round ones or these triangle ones. I use this little awl because I use it to kind of scrape off some of the chalk. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. And then I have a bunch of different brushes. I actually would like to get some new brushes, but mostly I use this one and that one. That's pretty much the only two that, well, I also have a really thin one that I use sometimes to get into corners, this little tiny one. So I do sometimes use that one, so we might use that. So brushes and then the cosmetic sponges, and basically that's what I use at this point to color. So what I'm going to go do now is take the faceplate outside and spray it really well with one coat of Mr. Super Clear in flat. So I use two different Mr. Super Clears. I use the flat for the coloring process, and then at the very end, the last coat is a semi-gloss. And I used to always just use the flat for everything, but I really like the semi-gloss because it gives the face a little bit of a shine, not a super shine, but just a little bit to make it look a little more alive and dewy like real skin. So anyway, I'm going to go and spray this now, and I'm going to come back and show you the beginning process of coloring. So I'll be right back. Okay everyone, I'm back and I have sprayed the faceplate with one coat of Mr. Super Clear. If you're brand new to Blythe Customizing and you don't know what Mr. Super Clear is, it's a product from Japan. It's a sealant and it's a spray. So basically you want to use Mr. Super Clear before you add any color, because that way the color can stick to the plastic. If you don't seal it first, then the color won't stick. So there are other sealants and ways of doing this. Most people that do face-ups on dolls use Mr. Super Clear, but again, there are some other brands. I choose just to stick with that one because I know it works, and it works for me, and a lot of times I find myself ending up spending more money trying things and coming back to the original anyway. So most of the time you have to order it. A lot of times local stores don't carry it, so you will have to order it And as I said, I used the flat for the first coat, and then between any other applications of makeup. So basically, when you're working on the doll, as you put on the makeup, you actually have to build the color between layers of Mr. Super Clear. So your first couple layers, you're not going to see very much progress on the color of the doll, which sometimes can be frustrating. So you're going to add some color, you're going to spray, add some color, spray, and continue until you've built the color up to the way that you want it to look. So I highly recommend having kind of an idea of what you want your doll to look like before you start applying color, because once you have sprayed the doll with Mr. Super Clear, it's basically sealed permanently. So one of the reasons why I used the watercolor pencils in the past was because it was easy to erase with water. And with the chalk pastels, it's not as easy to remove. And then again, once you spray it, it's been set. So kind of consider that. This is the hair that I am going to be using for this doll, and I'm actually planning on possibly trying to dye it a little bit. But as you can see, it's bright, bright white. And I wanted to give this doll kind of an angelic white and very pink look. So I recently started using white on my dolls to add highlights, and I really like the effect, and I'm going to kind of overdo it on this one a little bit. So the first thing that I do is I pick the color I want to start with, and white is a color that is really hard to build up on the doll, so you have to put many, many layers to get the white to stand out. So I always start with it now. And as I said, I use this little sharp awl to kind of scrape off and make a little pile of the chalk. Okay, so again, this is my process. I don't know how other artists do it, so it's not to say it's the right way, it's just the way I do it. So once I have a little pile of chalk here, I will then take one of my brushes. I use this one a lot just to kind of apply some, and then the sponge to kind of pat it around. So as far as the white goes, for highlights, you kind of want to put it on all the points of the doll that are sticking up highest. That's where we would find the highlights on our own selves, and I'm going to kind of do that to the extreme on this doll. I'm going to add a lot of white. So basically, I'm not going to talk through the whole process. I'm just going to show you as I go along how long it takes to kind of build this up. So you'll see I dab it on, and then a lot of times I sponge it or blow it off the excess, whatever works for you. So I hope you have fun just kind of watching as I work on her, and I'll come back to let you know every time that I do a layer of spray. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I had to kind of turn some lights on because it's pretty dark outside here today and I couldn't see very well. So I don't know how well you're going to be able to see, but this is basically, let me turn off this bigger light. I think it's hard to see with this one on. It probably looks to you like there is no color on there yet. Maybe you can see a little bit. But this is about at the spot where I would spray again because I've put color in a lot of different places. It's very, very light. and as I said, you just have to keep building. So let's go spray. And as far as spraying, I recommend doing it outside. It's really strong. So what I do is I take the faceplate outside, I spray it, and then I wait a few minutes so that the smell and the spray can go away, and then I bring it back in. That way, because I live somewhere where there's a lot of people outside, I don't have my own backyard or garage. I live in an apartment, so I try to bring it in just so there's no debris in the wind that can get stuck to the spray. But if you have a place you can just leave it outside, I would do that. Just be careful that it's nowhere near the rain or the sun. Some people have problems with Mr. Super Clear with high humidity, and even though we have humidity here, I've never had a problem with it. The only time I had a problem with the spray is I sprayed the doll and I left it outside, and the sun had shifted to where it was directly on the doll, and it had created white spots where the Mr. Super Clear was. But that's the only time I've had a problem. So you'll just have to see what happens in where you live. But otherwise, make sure you hold the can about 6 inches away and make sure that you get a really nice even coat on there, and you should be good to go. So let's go spray it again, and we will continue applying and show you how to continue building color. Okay, so I'm back, and the doll has been sprayed a second time now, and still doesn't look like she has very much color. I'm sure you can see. So we're going to continue on. The only thing I wanted to mention is if you do take your doll outside to spray and bring it in pretty quickly, you do want to give it at least about 10 minutes to dry. I know that there's some people that would give it a lot more time. I have found that 10 minutes is plenty of time depending on the weather. If it's really damp or humid outside, you might give it a little bit longer, because one time I did get in a hurry and started to apply the pastel, and it got very splotchy and would not blend. So I think the doll was still a little bit wet when I did that. So that's the only thing that I would recommend. And now as we start to apply this second layer of color, it will start to get a lot darker since we have already sprayed now 2 coats. And it will continue to do so. So like before, I'm just going to go ahead and apply color. I'm doing a lot of white, as I said, and then you also want to do darker color. I use just a brown and sometimes black mixed with it for places like the lip creases, anywhere that you're going to want to put shadow, so around the nose, in all of those places. I do some under the eye. I don't know how much I'm going to do on this doll though, because I really want her to have a very light angelic look. So I might not put much under her eye, but definitely in the other contrast areas. So I'm just going to go ahead and work, and you guys can just follow along. Okay, so I don't know if you can see at this point that the color is starting to build, and I'm going to stop here and spray again, and then we'll be back and continue adding. Okay everyone, so we're back and we are working on layer number 3. So it is raining outside today and it's pretty dark, but I'm going to go ahead and chance it and try and get some of this done, because I really want to try to get this doll basically done this weekend. So I know I mentioned in the beginning of the video to be very careful, and I'm going to be very careful when I take her outside to spray her. So now again, I'm just going to keep building the colors I've already started. A lot of white, as I said, and this pink. So just going to have you watch, and then I will spray again and we'll see where we're at. So at this point, I want to give a little bit of darker color just under her eye. So I'm going to actually use a watercolor pencil this time and just sort of lay the color on there and sort of do that rim of her eye. I'm also probably going to do this in white. So I just want to give a little bit of dimension there. I'll put the white a little bit more out. But for now, I'm going to go spray her again, and we'll start on our 4th application. Okay, here we are, everyone, working on layer number 4. This may be our last layer, but I'm not sure yet. So let's keep working on this white. Okay everyone, here we go, layer number 5. I'm pretty satisfied with the color. I think I'm just going to darken the eyebrows, which you saw me do in the last part of the video. And I might continue with a little bit more white and highlights. I'm not sure yet. Sometimes I think it's best to kind of let the doll sit a day before deciding that it's totally done, but we'll see. So this is layer number 5. Okay everyone, so my camera ran out of memory, so I don't know yet where the video cut out, but I have done the eyebrows, I've done some lower lashes, and I think I'm pretty much done with the coloring. But one of the things I wanted to try again with this doll is using this pearlescent type powder. I bought this a long time ago because I saw a customizer use it and I thought it was really pretty. But when I used it, when I sprayed it to seal it with Mr. Super Clear, you couldn't see it anymore. So recently I got the advice that as long as you are spraying the final coat with semi-gloss, then the shine of this pearlescent powder will still show up. So I thought I would try it again today. I wish I had a white, but I don't. So I have this pink that I'm going to try. And I'm thinking I'm just going to kind of dust it on her cheeks and probably around her nose. And the good news is if I don't like it, all I would need to do was use the flat Mr. Super Clear and it should take it off. So I'm just going to put a little here. I don't want her to be too shiny. I just want kind of a little bit. So I'm going to dab it on. In a few different places. I just want this doll to have kind of a fairy angelic look, as I said, so kind of like the idea of a little bit of shine on her. So I think that's good for now. I'm going to go ahead and spray what I think will be the final coat of Mr. Super Clear in the semi-gloss, as I said. If for some reason you do this final spray and you don't like it, then you just continue adding color and spray again. So it's no problem, but I am going to consider this my final at this point. So I will spray her and we'll be back to check on her and see how she looks. Okay everyone, so the shimmer did show up a little bit, which is great. It's not too much. It's subtle, just like I wanted. So I think I'm pretty much done with this faceplate. It's always kind of hard to know until you are able to start putting the eyes in and the hair on to make sure it's exactly what you want. But for now, I'm going to add some gloss to her lips and I'm going to consider her finished as far as painting. So before I post this video, I'll try to post a finished photo for you so you can see. And I hope you enjoyed watching the painting process as I do it now. And I hope you found it useful. So thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.